Hi and welcome to this video blog with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. So, this week's going to be a fairly short blog, quite a depressing one I suppose to a certain extent, because we're going to talk about Lance Armstrong and his fall from grace over a very short time period. I mean, for some time now it's been very questionable whether Lance could have done it straight, because all his lieutenants and people in his teams have been admitting to doping and saying that Lance had led them astray. I think if Lance had an argument against it, he would have probably argued against it in court or in the hearings that were due for the doping agency in the United States. And it's exceptionally sad to find out that an icon actually was cheating. And I instinctively don't like cheats. I still admire Lance Armstrong for what he did, recovering from cancer and then winning the Tour de France. It was an era of cheat, but it seems that he took cheat to a new level. And it reminds me that professional sport, in a lot of ways, is actually full of that type of cheating, even though people purport it to be a very noble thing to do. In football in this country, soccer, if you're watching this in the United States, you'll see people kick the ball out and then claim that it's their ball. That doesn't happen in other sports. It doesn't happen in rugby and things like that. And in something like snooker, to take a completely opposite example, I'm taking the case of Jimmy White. Jimmy White is a snooker player of old in the UK. He's been a snooker player since he was about 16, professional snooker player. And I've literally seen him go down to the white ball, size it up, look at it, get his shot ready, and then he stood up. And he says, why have you stood up? I touched the ball, 4 points to the opposition, he gets the game, he gets the ball. That's what snooker is like, played by someone who really does love the game as opposed to loving the money they can make from the game. Now, he's a reasonably wealthy man, he's made a lot of money from snooker, but still, at the very point of play, he thinks the game is more important than him, and he thinks his honour is more important than him. And I think that's been lost to a certain extent from professional sport. The reason I like triathlon is the fact that the people doing it nearly always want everyone to do well. They may want to do better than them, but they don't want to do better than someone else based on the fact of someone else having misfortune or cheating against them. They just want a fair, level playing field and for everyone to do their best. And that's triathlon through and through, especially in the age group sections. In the professional sections, I think that tends to go along as well. I don't think anyone would question Alistair and Jonathan Brownlee. They just train incredibly hard. They're prepared to hammer the bike, hammer the cycle, hammer the swim, and hammer the run. And that's how they do it. And if at the end of the run they're completely out of energy, as has happened, that's life. They'll lose. And if not, they'll actually be a minute ahead of other people and they'll win. And that's a beautiful way to play sport. And with Lance Armstrong, you do wonder what happened to him whilst he was recovering from cancer to convince him that drugs was the way to go. And that's just incredibly disappointing that that's the way he went, because I think he's a phenomenal athlete. Brings into question all that he's done after that. Is he taking EPO to do so well at triathlon? I would hope not, but you can't be certain unless he actually comes out and says so. Well, who knows? Anyway, that's my rant this week. Let's get back from the Lance Armstrong type of sport into the Jimmy White type of sport, where if something goes wrong you actually say, well, sorry, did that. Rugby versus football. In rugby, the referee is king. If you question him, back 10 yards, no question of doubt. In football, they surround the referee, arguing to and fro. Anyway, that's my rant for this week. Lance Armstrong. Great shame, huge fall from grace. Let's hope that all sport can learn from this and move forward into a cleaner and fairer era. Okay, see you next week. Keep well.